No, but it's very clear, Aditya sir, that Mohan Bhagwat is trying to present a vision of India where apparently spirituality and nationalism seem to be inseparable. Now, do you think that this is really going to have takers, or would people just cast this aside as what Kangana Ranaut said that the real Azadi came in 2014? So, how seriously would this Mohan Bhagwat statement be taken by the people?
You see, what distinguished Indian nationalism was precisely the opposite of what he's saying. Indian nationalism was not anti any religion, it was not anti any people, it was not anti British, it was anti imperialist. It was not a Hindu struggle against Christians, or a Hindu Muslim combined struggle against Christians. It was a struggle against imperialism based on the whole basis of Indian nationalism was political and economic. Those were the issues on which it was built. It was not built around issues of culture and religion, etc. Thank God for it. You know, but they're now trying to say that the real fight for freedom is always based on religion, because they want to make a state which is based on religion. Since the national movement was not based on religion, the Indian state that came into being was a secular state. And they were very upset about it. That is why they do not accept 1947 as independence. Because when independence happened, Neeluji, I would like to remind you, they were trying to utilize the riot situation and the assassination of the Mahatma to do what Nehruji calls a coup, to change the nature of the state. They were trying to create a Hindu Rashtra, which was a mirror image of Muslim Pakistan. What Nehruji and Gandhi did, Gandhi by his death, and Nehruji by turning the first election into a referendum, was to mobilize the Indian people who overwhelmingly threw out this idea of a Hindu Rashtra as opposed to Muslim Pakistan. The Ramarajya Parishad, the Hindu Mahasabha, and the Jan Sangh, the predecessor of the BJP, put together got only 6% of the vote. Overwhelming majority of the Indian people wanted a secular India because India was a product of a secular national movement for 100 years. Now they want to deny all that history. And it is not going
Absolutely.
to be so easy. They are not going to change the people's mind that easily. The attempt is there through false propaganda, through speeches like this, through distortion of history, through WhatsApp history, and etc. etc. But it is not going to be so easy to change the India's civilizational value. You may do a little bit of damage on changing the history of the Indian national movement, but a civilizational value, which is, as they say, 5,000 years old, is not going to turn around by some upstart trying to restate what is the civilizational value of India. I mean, people, the greatest of intellectuals of the world, have written about the civilizational values of the Indian subcontinent. And here are people making a comment on it without any reference to what all these people have had to say.
Absolutely. But after listening to and after reading what Mohan Bhagwat has actually said, what is your biggest worry as a historian and as somebody who's worked on civilizations, has worked on the Indian freedom struggle? You've seen that closely. What is your biggest worry after seeing this statement of Mohan Bhagwat?
My biggest worry is what happened to Yugoslavia. A 14th century quarrel in which the Muslims, because as you know, there were multiple empires around there, the Ottoman Empire, etc., that it was some attack of the Muslims is supposed to have killed a large number of Christians, right? Now that memory was suddenly resurrected, just as I told you, the memory, so-called memory of Hindu psyche being hurt by the destruction of the Somnath. Similar memory was worked up, leading to a massive massacre in the 1990s in Srebrenica. And it is this kind of thing which led to this identity politics in that region. And Yugoslavia broke up into 7 states. That is why Jawaharlal Nehru called the communalists anti-national. when you talk of any one religious community's nationalism, you're denying a nationalism which includes all the people. You're anti-national. You break up the nation in a linguistic, multi-religious country. Any notion of religious nationalism of a particular religious community will break up the country. It's anti-national, and that is my worry. I don't want this beautiful country to be broken up. I don't want civil war to occur in this country. People fighting against each other, finding enemies within. This is what fascism does. Locates enemies within, not outside. Who's the enemy?
But
The street corner Muslim is now enemy. The Darji is the enemy. Anybody who wears a cap, just जो कपड़े से पहचाने जाते हैं, जो 5 से 25 करते हैं, he's the enemy. What are we doing? We are destroying our country.
But do you think it would come as a surprise if all of a sudden they try and cast aside Red Fort, saying that, okay, this was a Mughal legacy and we will change the history? If they are so adamant and hell-bent on changing the history, would they change this entire tradition of, hoisting the flag from the ramparts of the Red Fort? And I'm repeating my question, that does it look like an indication that Ram Mandir, Red Fort will now be replaced by the Ram Mandir. 15th of August 1947 is going to be replaced with 22nd January 2024.
It is so far-fetched. I mean, of course, people who are not biologically born can do anything. But I would find this really incredible, that we start celebrating the independence of India from 2024. If that happens, we as a country should be ashamed of ourselves.
Your final comment and my final question to you, sir, is that in entirety, when you see Mohan Bhagwat's statement, what would you say towards the end, and how would you just conclude?
I would conclude that we have enough problems in our country. We are in our hunger index below sub-Saharan Africa. We are below every other South Asian country, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. In the democracy index, we are not even called a democracy. We are called an electoral autocracy. In the freedom of press index, we are very, very low. We are something close to Russia. Now, should we be looking at those issues? Or rather than, as I said, doing the historian's job, let the historians write history, and let the politicians go about meeting the interests of the people, the demands of the people, particularly of the poor. I mean, if they had any link to religion, almost all religions focus on the dispossessed and the poor. Where is that focus? Why are we not talking about the dispossessed, those who are oppressed, protecting them, putting the hand of a benevolent religious arm around them? That is not what is happening. Instead, what is this hatred being produced against other religions? I mean, it's really a great pity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mukherjee, for joining on HW. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neelu.
Stay ahead with our cutting-edge news app. Instantly access the latest shorts in just 1 minute and breaking news in just 50 words. Download now for a smarter, faster news experience.